Alright guys, good morning. Welcome to episode number 28 of the Modern Farmer Podcast. I am your co-host Amir Maan with...
I'm your co-host Gaurav Maan, winemaker.
And today we got an interesting episode. It's being led, directed, and operated by Mr. Gaurav Maan. He has made an excellent plan in regards to what we'll be covering. It has a lot to do with...
wine sales and how we got into 150 liquor stores. I made some notes and basically I'm going to go through how we got into 150 liquor stores and how we're going to continue into 1,500, 2 million. This is what's going on. And 2016 is where I started getting into liquor stores. All of our sales were in our tasting room. And I felt like the tasting room sales were very limited because we had this small space. We can only do so much in our tasting room, right? I remember the sales. It was around like almost like $25,000 in the tasting room. That's it, right? So we started with that. So I'm like, how can we do this? How can we increase the winery? What can we do?
Let me ask you a simple question.
Sure.
So like obviously wineries sell their wine in specific different ways, right? What are like some of the ways that people sell their wine? The distribution methods. You've chosen the predominant method of selling to liquor stores, and that's your number one distribution method.
Yeah.
After you've produced the wine, it goes to a liquor store, and
Yeah.
that's how it gets sold to the customer. But how do wineries do it?
So the majority of wineries, right? The reason they're like from the industry, like who I've talked to, 65% of their sales are wholesale, like liquor stores, restaurants, things like that. Other 35% are tasting room and like special things they do, like wine club, like farmers markets, things like that. So that's how most wineries are structured in this industry.
There's pros and cons to each method. From my perspective, if you're selling just off site, you're bringing more people there. You can sell something else. You can do more tastings. There's more brand awareness because they're at your farm, right, or whatever you're selling at. Like winery, and then you can talk to the people about your wine specifically from a first-time perspective. So it's more branding, more able to the customer connection. But obviously, it's not as scalable. Well, my question is like in 2016, when before this we had a winery, we had a wine tasting room. And how the hell did you just decide to like, okay, we should sell to liquor stores? Was it just the common sense approach of like, listen, that's where people buy their wine. That's where I want to put it.
So we went through a really rough time when it was 2014. We had a fire. So that destroyed sales for almost everything that we did, right? Compared to 2013. So I was like, what can we do about this? What can we do about this? So it's almost like my back was against the wall and I wanted to increase sales.
So what do you mean? Like you were just saying you were discouraged and there's nowhere to sell the wine, but how did that ladder into you starting a wholesale distribution? Is that what I gathered? Am I right, Jason?
Number two, right? Is just like, I don't know what the fuck to do. Like, what do I do? Like,
essentially, what you're saying is that you just like needed to grow the wine business.
Yeah.
So you spent some time to focus on it, and whatever it is, you just ended up selling to the liquor stores.
Exactly. I don't know what it was. Back then, I didn't document anything.
I understand, but because you're so new in it, you just had to try it. Right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I got you.
So this is where step 3 comes in. So this is just do it. So this is all about taking risks.
Like Shia LaBeouf. Just do it.
Exactly. Just do it. This is about taking risks. So the first liquor store I went to was Garrison, right? I had no idea what they were going to think about the wine, right? So I sat there. I'm like, oh, hey, the manager's name is still the manager now, but there's other people that are there, like, that help out and do a great job.
Where's the liquor store?
This is in, so it's in the Garrison area of Chilliwack.
Oh, it's in Chilliwack.
So this is one of the first liquor stores we got into.
Okay. Pretty big liquor store? Or?
It's a decent sized liquor store.
It's kind of up on the mountain bit?
No, it's in a plaza.
Is it?
Yeah, it's in a plaza. There's like a Save on Foods there. It's just like in this neighborhood that's called Garrison.
Cool, wicked.
Right? So I went there and I'm like, okay, what do I do? I had like this red binder. In the binder, I had like a wine portfolio where I wrote out all the wines. So when I still remember when I was at the liquor store, I was like, shit, I'm really scared, right? So like I do stupid shit that's like woo woo, right? I'm like, let's do it, I can do it. So I sat in my truck, I'm like, let's do this. It's a little bit cringe, right? Yeah. But sometimes you just gotta hype yourself up.
Nothing cringe with it,
right? So I went to the liquor store, and they love the wine.
You faced your fears. Good.
They love the wine. I'm like, holy shit, they love the wine. What's going on?
That was easier than you expected.
Right? Easier than I expected. So I just did it. You know, like that thing is like, the idea of doing it is scarier than actually doing it.
Yeah.
That's basically what happened. So.
Did your perspective on the wine change at that point, right after that first meeting?
No.
Because you still loved the wine before it?
No, I didn't know.
Okay.
I didn't know. Like, at this point, I had no idea. Like,
you had no expectations?
No expectations
at
all.
Without,
I just went there. It was like, okay, I don't know what's going to happen.
It's excellent.
Right? So, something I'm just missing here is, like, sales. So, where did I actually learn sales? There's multiple areas, right? Obviously, we grew up at a berry stand, right? We were doing sales on a daily basis and, like, selling berries. So, the thing with sales, you can replicate it to any industry, right? You can just put down the steps. This is what worked well in this scenario. Let's try in this scenario, and it usually works.
Yeah.
Right? So, another area where I learned sales is I became a franchisee at College Pro. So, basically what you do as a franchisee in College Pro, it's kind of getting a little bit off the topic, but it's part of the topic as well. You knock on doors to get sales, right? So, literally, I was knocking on doors for like 8 to 10 hours a day. And it's just because, like, I'm crazy like that. I just do it. Like, I have nothing stopping me. I was just knocking on doors. So this was going on in the summertime. I would, like, work at the farm, and then I would go knocking on doors, like, on weekdays. Like, later on at night. And I would knock on doors till it would get dark. Like, 10, 11 o'clock at night. People are like, what the hell? Why are you knocking on my door this late? I'm like, I'm just here trying to make sales. And, like, this is what I'm doing.
Hi. I'm just here.
Pretty much, I'm just here,
you
right?
to come home and say, well, I knocked on this old lady's door and she sat me down and we had a cup of tea.
Exactly.
This is pretty good, though. That's what you want.
That's literally what happened, right?
That's solid.
Right? So, I remember the first 2 weeks of me actually knocking on doors was really, really tough. So I had to sit down and make a sales kind of protocol. So I don't know where I came up with this, right? But like my sales protocol originally was like 3 steps. The first step, right, is, hi, how are you? Obviously you got to introduce yourself, right? The second step is building credibility, right? And telling them where you're from. So in the College Pro, I still remember the script. It's like, hi, how are you? I'm actually a university student from the University of Fraser Valley, and I'm here as a College Pro franchisee. So you introduce yourself, you build credibility, being like a university student.
Yeah.
Like people have like, they're like, oh, this is cool. Like the university student is trying to make money, right? And then the third step is to actually tell them why you're here, right? So I'd be like, I'm a university student. I'm working as a College Pro franchisee. I was hoping to give you a quote for like your window cleaning and your gutter cleaning and like whatever else you need to clean your house. Right? So, and then last step was also always to ask for the sale.
Yeah.
Or just like indirectly ask for the sale. It's like, oh, can I please give you a quote? Would you be interested in a quote, right? So, at first, in those first 2 weeks, like I had no idea what I was doing. Then I made the script, right? Then I learned throughout that process is like, if they're saying no, just move on right away. So like I would sit there after those 2 weeks and try to make sales. But like I was trying to convince that person, even though they said no, to get yes. Yeah. And then I realized somehow it's like, who cares if they say no? Move to the next person. And always keep a positive attitude. So if you get, if somebody says no to you, you usually get down, right? So it's like
it's very discouraging.
It's very discouraging. So you don't want to take that into the next sale, right? So you have to be like, oh, it's okay, let's go. Yeah. So somehow it's like, oh, this is no big deal, like whatever, move on. Yeah. And then usually my like closing rate on sales or like getting quotes was like 10%, 20%, like 10 to 15%, you could say, which is actually very high.
But you're walking from house to 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 house, right?
Exactly.
You're finding the right neighborhoods with the bigger houses. Obviously, they had a little bit deeper pockets, or they're more
100%.
expendable income, or they,
100%.
you know, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And they were going from house to house to house. I remember that.
Yeah.
Mom used to freak out. What the hell are you doing? Right? Because
It's just-
you went to go wash windows. Like, it was hilarious.
It's funny,
But
right?
I think a lot of the great people who are some of the people that we look up to now, like Tony Robbins, Gary Vee, they all have a story like that, where they would go and do something which is sales related or selling related, or put themselves in a circumstance which they have to face their fears to really push themselves and get out of their comfort zone. So I think that's what really is attached to like humble beginnings and starting somewhere solid, of where you put yourself in a perspective. So even though like mom and dad provided you a position to be at the farm on a day-to-day basis, and you could have just sat here in the office and had a cushy lifestyle, but you decided to go push your own envelope and try something new. And I think that's very important. I recommend that for everyone. Like the number one reason where I gained my interest personally was going to Holland and being there for 6 months and learning from your own perspective. Like, shit, man, you gotta do yourself. You just gotta do yourself. There's nothing else. There's no one that's gonna really hold your hand at the end of the day, right? Like people do nowadays have like helicopter parents and parents or kids that are our age or that we grew up with get it made because their parents just buy stuff for them. And you know, they're very nice cushy cars or whatever it is, and that's fine. Like, we have nice cars, but that's because we've been busting our ass, right? And we're making that money for those cars. But it takes time, and you value the day-to-day lifestyle of hard work at a much higher pedigree than
100%.
sitting on your ass and not doing anything. Like, you have that conscientiousness of doing it yourself, that you don't get it. And I think that's why, like, sales is like, that's pretty much why you started this conversation with sales, is that it's so important and ladders to everywhere else. Mark Cuban, big sales story. Everyone does sales.
No, 100%.
So that's really good.
So getting back to that experience, another thing that I learned from that experience that I didn't know with College Pro is, like you mentioned, like you would go to different neighborhoods, check those houses out, right? And see like, oh, this looks like a nice house. This neighborhood has nice houses. So what I realized is like certain neighborhoods were built by certain construction people, and all the houses were the same. So some areas had really nice houses, some areas had really old houses. So obviously I went to the new houses. So how this translated to actually going to liquor stores is I would look at liquor stores, be like, oh, this liquor store looks really nice. It has a really nice sign. Like, for some reason, the sign is a very good indicator of how the liquor store is gonna do for you, right? And then
what do you mean?
It's just different. Like, you know how BC liquor stores have that sign? It says, oh, BC liquor store. So all the good liquor stores, for the most part, have a really nice sign that says, oh, this is Dollarton Liquor Store. Oh, this is Garrison Liquor Merchants. You'll notice that. And like, I'll look for that when I go to Google Maps and Google thing. Be like, oh,
Street View.
No, that's honestly how it started.
Street View, Google Street View.
Street View, exactly. And I would go there, be like, oh, this liquor store looks nice, right? Let's go to the store, right? So I learned that still through experience. Like, I went through stores that look really nice. Also went to stores that look not that great, like corner stores with like a pub and stuff. And over time, I realized those stores, they're not really worth it, unless like the employees and managers that are really into your wine, right? That's the only way that those stores do well for you, because the clientele that goes there, it's not gonna buy like a $24 wine, right? Most people buy in like those areas, like, not to be like totally frank, but they'll buy like between like $10 to $15 wines that are like 1.5 liter.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing.
Okay.
No, that's just like
1.5 liter.
Yeah, that's just the consumer.
That's 2 freaking regular sized bottles.
Exactly.
It's a Magnum, isn't it?
I don't know what it's called, but like this usually like a mass like Jackson Triggs or like Mission Hill that sells these bottles in really bulk, but they're getting like a lot of sales.
Volume.
Exactly. So that's what I learned from College Pro as well. It's like looking at the right things about the like your salesperson, right? So after this happened, right? Step number 4 is to trust your product, know your product. So like this happened through feedback. I didn't know what was going on, right? So the more people I sample the wine in the tasting room, I sample for liquor stores, I'm like, this is not a bad thing. Like, I'm sitting on something pretty cool. Like, this is a good product. So having that in your mind and trusting your product is huge. Like, all those people that you talked about earlier, they trusted the product. If they didn't have a good product to sell, they wouldn't be passionate about it, right? So that was really cool that like through feedback and through winning these awards, right? And like a little bit recently, like in 2018, we won Fruit Wine of the Year in Canada. Like that's huge. Like literally all the fruit wines in Canada, most of the like the wineries enter their wines to this competition, and we won number 1. People won medals, but we got a trophy. That trophy is like sick. Like you can't beat that.
Yeah, that was
right.
That was really.
And we ended up sending our wine to the National Wine Awards of Canada, which is like a huge competition.
Yeah.
And we won gold. Like we won the best one.
It's insane.
Like that shit. Like that just happens. Like that's from like just like going out and just like trusting your product. So that's like trust your product, know your product. Conviction, exactly. Right. So, number 5. So this is like go out and hustle and set goals, right? So if you look at 2016, right? I set a goal to sell, I think it was like 500 cases.
Yeah.
Right? So 500 times 12, what is that? 6,000, right?
Yeah.
So here you see a goal of 67.20, and at the end of the year, I sold 68.44.
What year are we in?
So this is 2016.
Okay.
So the goal was to sell 500 cases.
We got a lot of years to go still.
Exactly, right? So 2016. So you can see, you can go to 2017. So for some reason, Samantha, like Sam, who worked in the office, she's like, double it. Like, just go to 12,000. Like, who cares? Like, I set this goal.
I remember that.
I set this goal. Let's go. I'm like, okay, fine. I set this goal. In my back of my mind, I was like, this is going to be really hard, but I could try, right? So the end of the year, I almost got to the goal.
Yeah.
So the goal was 12,000, really, right? So I got 11,858.
Yeah.
Which is almost 1,000 cases. I remember like our like wine consultant, whose name is Laurent, right? He's like, when you get to 1,000 cases, you're actually a real winery.
Yeah.
You're actually a real winery.
So that's not those are bottles. You sold 12,000 bottles, buddy.
Bottles, exactly, right?
Yeah.
So it's 1,000 cases.
Yes.
That's still a super small winery, but that's pretty good, right? And so we're on step 5. So this is also going out and hustling.
Yeah.
So this is 2017. Do you remember what happened in 2017?
2017, what happened?
We had an ice storm. Like we went to NAFTMA in 2015, 2016, right?
Yeah.
We had an ice storm here. Like this area that we're sitting in, there was a tent there.
Oh yeah, I'm the one that cleaned that up, not you.
But there was the ice storm. I got a picture from like, I don't know who it was, Brianne or Sam. It was like, oh, like the tent came down.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I was just laughing. I'm like,
that's crazy.
What can you do about it, right?
Yeah.
It is what it is.
100%.
So this is going out and hustling and doing it. So basically what I wrote here is I would do sales 9 to 5, right? And I would come back and like do production like 5 to 12. Or like 5, I was here till like 2 a.m., 3 a.m., right?
Yeah, that's right.
So I was just hustling. In the back of my head, like what's not here is like, I knew Dad was a really hard worker, right? And he instilled it in us, right? I'm like, if he can work super hard, why can't I work super hard, right? So that's huge, like going out and hustling. Like the facilities we had, I was working outside. I had a nice jacket on. I had like a stupid speaker that was playing in the back, but I was just doing my thing.
Yeah.
It's almost like working and meditation at the same time.
It's very important.
Right? At this point, like in present day, like I have a worker working in the production area, and he's pretty good, but I kind of miss it in some ways. Because like that's what I did growing up and like doing it. True. Right? So that's how it is. So step number 6, right, is asking for help. Asking for help is really big. Right? So, in the beginning, I was kind of like, I didn't know who to ask or what to do. Like, I was almost scared to ask for help, right? Because I looked at a manager as being like, oh, this person's a manager. They're so big. They're so, like, they make such great decisions. So I would go to these managers and ask, like, what do I do? How do I do this? They'd be like, just be put together, target the right customers, and, like, see what you can do. So asking for help is really big. Like, I feel like some entrepreneurs and things like that, they don't know how to ask for help.
Yeah.
Right? It's not easy. So like this also came with like hiring employees to help me in the production area. Like I wasn't trusting them at all at first, right? So I would just do it and like, okay, this was going decent. Like I still, in the back of my head, I wouldn't trust anybody. So I still, asking for help is really big.
Yeah.
Okay? So at this point, it's like 2017, 2018, right? So asking for help is like doing tastings as well, right? It's like I was the only guy doing tastings. Like I'm gonna touch on tastings going forward, but tasting is essentially a way that these liquor stores understood that like I was here to work hard and I wanted to get this product selling. Because like once you get into these 150 liquor stores, it's not that glamorous unless you're selling the wine. So I would go to these stores and be like, oh, it's cool that our product is in the store.
So a lot of people that just sell wine and it just sits on the shelf, right?
Yeah.
So that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's that it's not glamorous, because meaning that it's pointless to actually get into those liquor stores if you just sell it one time and it sits there.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's huge. Like, I was like going to liquor stores. I'm like, why isn't the product why isn't it selling? Like, what's going on, right? And they're like, oh, the manager's like, oh, you can come in and do a tasting and sample for customers. Do you remember the first tasting we did? It was like at Character's Liquor Store downtown here. It was like New Year's Day, and I ended up selling 2 bottles.
Was that what happened?
Yeah, you were there. I remember you were there, but
did I go?
You were there for a minute, like not that long, right?
Just to drop by.
Just to drop by, see what's going on, right? And I saw 2 bottles. I'm like, okay, that's not bad, but it's not great, right? So that was like the first tasting I did. So going forward, I used to do tastings almost every weekend, every Friday, Saturday.
Oh, you did? Just the entire year?
Entire year, like
yeah.
Maybe not the entire year, but probably like 40 weeks a year I did tastings, right?
Okay.
So this is going back to like go on a hustle to do those tastings.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you have a budget for tastings?
I kind of do. Like in December of 2020, I kind of made a budget. I'm like, it's a 4-hour tasting, right? So pretend like every employee's paid $20 an hour. That's $80, right? The cost of the employee actually being there for 4 hours.
Probably $100, 120.
Yeah, $100.
The cost, yeah.
Yeah, 2019 tastings. I mean, I can go back and look at how many tastings we did. I know from November to December we almost did 100 tastings. So 100 times 80 or 100 is like $8,000, $10,000.
Sure.
From November to December, right? So the way I look at it, like how do we, if that's a cost, how do we offset the cost? So in 2020, we did something like me and Dhruv, we made this goal. Like there was a bunch of stuff here. It's not the same thing as on here right now, but I have pictures. Like basically we'd go through sales. Like this is a target for this month. How do we get this to this month? It's like 20% is going to be for wholesale, 25% is going to be from tastings, right? So through experience, we understood that usually for every tasting we did, the manager would order 2 cases before and maybe 2 cases after. Like that's what usually happened, because like the way we taught our salespeople was actually really good. Like they were selling 12 to 15 bottles per tasting, which is awesome, right? One employee in 2018, and she sold 54 bottles.
Yeah.
Like that's insane.
Yeah.
Right? That's like almost like 5 cases.
Yeah.
In like a 4-hour period.
I think tastings is a secret sauce of how to sell more wine for wineries locally in our area if you are locally distributing, even outside distributing as well, because essentially what you said is that people don't buy wine when it's sitting in a liquor store and there's no like marketing, and like the best way to market is right in front of the customer when they're about to make the decision at the last moment.
Word of mouth.
Right, at the very last minute. My position on this is that I think you should try to double, like a goal for 2020. Maybe shouldn't just be inside spending or doubling your sales or tripling your sales, whatever it is. Your goal should be spending double the amount on tastings.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. So maybe you spent $15,000 on tastings in 2019.
Yeah.
Your goal should be spent $30,000.
Yeah.
Just to spend it, because essentially what you're saying is spending $15,000 on correct training and tastings, like doing it well,
yeah,
has allowed you to get the sales you've wanted.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's like lead gen. It's lead generation in social media. Is that when you take time and effort to do Facebook ads right, and you sell them to the customer, and you get like emails or deposits, or in our sense ticket sales. Yeah. The more money you spend on Facebook and Instagram, more return you're gonna have, as long as you're doing Facebook and Instagram well, right? Yeah. So your secret sauce, what you're saying right now, is that you do wine tastings right.
Yeah.
You have 150 local customers.
Yeah.
You now need to forget about everything else, forget everything completely, and focus your campaigns, your wine, like create wine tasting campaigns, create wine tasting merchandise, create wine tasting uniforms, wine tasting logos, wine tasting gear, wine tasting social media, everything on wine tasting, and spend $15,000 to $45,000 in 2020 on wine tastings. But now you need to, like, your next step is to have wine tasting meetings. And your goal should be, you first figure out, you already figured out your why, because your why essentially is that more wine tastings to do better wine tastings to do more wine to sell. Yeah?
No. That's not, it's technical, man. I'm reading a book now, it's called Know Your Why. And what you just explained is what? So, like,
just stop for a second. Stop. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
It's not that know your why. Don't get confused with what I'm trying to get across. What I'm trying to get across is your wine tastings, if done right, sell more wine.
Yeah, 100%.
So all I'm saying is, if that is your number one reason of how to sell more wine, something else that's your competitive advantage over all other wineries in the local area, it is your damn right competitive advantage. You can find your competitive advantage anywhere. Okay, if that is. Just scratch every single thing that you said to all your employees who are in part of selling wine and saying, listen, I need you to figure out an innovative way to spend $45,000 in wine tasting to work more than any other $45,000 we could ever spend. That's what you should do. Create a budget of how to sell $45,000 to really figure out exactly how to scale the unscalable, which is wine tasting, my friend. You should have your employees. I don't know how many wine tastings they can do a week. Okay? You can make wine tasting a full-time job to do wine tasting every single freaking day. In the right vehicles, have TVs at wine tastings, give things away if they're doing wine tastings. Really cheap things which are ROI positive. Especially because then it comes down to, you know that one guy that's in the bar makeover? What's that guy's name? You know what I'm talking about. John Taffer.
That guy's high
right?
Legend.
John Taffer knows if the customer's walking through your door, if he's the first time he's trying your wine, he treats him differently. If it's the second time he's trying your wine, he treats him differently. And if he's a lifer, he treats him differently. Your wine tasters should be at that level as John Taffer and how to deal with your customers. But that comes through the time and dedication of spending money on these wine tastings and thinking about it the way that I'm thinking about it. I think this is the secret sauce that you are on and that you need to really coat yourself in. You need to rub the sauce on you every single day. Literally. Take your hands and rub wine tasting every single day in your hands.
TVs are a really good idea because then you can actually like record the process and have it up there so people can actually, when you're talking to them, they can actually see it.
Like, you know, Jolt, we just added on right now. Jolt is a new training software that we're adding on, and I'm really excited because it's the training, but it also has, like, checking in employees instead of the redundant stuff. It's more of, like, employee management in regards to what they're doing, where they're at, accountability, but mostly training. You should freaking just create some really solid training videos and just do it! like Shia LaBeouf says. Get this freaking... get this shit done. This is how you take wine tasting from quantity to quality. Am I right? Because it's like having followers on Instagram. If they don't do shit for you, what the hell's the point?
Yeah.
Only way they'll do shit is if you engage, have community involvement, get the right value to them, talk to them. What if your wine tasters are there every single weekend and they gain awareness with the customers that are coming every single weekend, and the customers look forward to seeing that wine taster there, and they buy cases of wine because of that. You get them to learn how to sign up wine club, shit like that. Just freaking bananas, buddy. You can sell whatever you want on wine tastings. You don't have to just sell wine. Just go to the liquor store. JK, I love liquor stores. But you can sell whatever you want there.
Oh, that's fair.
Sell wine club tastings. Sell everything. Sell, give tickets away to Goat Yoga, to Haunted Gourmets. Sell tickets to Haunted Gourmets. Sell private tastings. Sell master classes. Hey man, Ricky's been coming through the door every single Saturday, and that wine taster's seen him. That wine taster has the knowledge and training to know that after they've seen Ricky come through the door at 7:45 every single Friday, because that's Ricky's routine, because people are predictable, right? that wine taster can now say to Ricky, you are a valued customer of Maan Farms and Maan Farms Estate Winery. We would love to invite you to our family dinner on us. Come on by, Ricky. That's next level. That's what you need to do. That's what we're missing. That's what all you've been telling me is like, listen, man, we need to do online sales. We need to direct to the customer. We need to sell more. Buddy, you got the fucking secret sauce in front of you. Money in the bank.
You know, I'm not complaining here, but this is one thing that my mindset is. I think your mindset's the same. Is like spend it all. Like I had one thing here for the longest time. It's called spend it all.
Yeah.
What that means is all the profit you have in the business, you should put it back in the business. Like look at Elon Musk as an example. From PayPal, he made 170 mil or like 180 mil. Like this is like on Instagram all the time. He put 100 mil in SpaceX. He put like 70 mil in Tesla, and he put 10 mil into his freaking battery company. And this guy was like getting a mortgage to pay rent in like a shitty ass house. Like that's just like the mentality of like a real entrepreneur who doesn't give a shit, right? So what I'm saying here is that I would love to have my own business, my own balance sheet, my own income statement, so I can know exactly what to spend. That's one of the things that like obviously you can do this through hard work and like just knowing your numbers, but it's like that's the biggest thing is like I want a different bank account. I want to know exactly what's going on in the business. I want to know who we're paying the payroll. I want to know what we're spending on assets. I want to know what we're spending on freaking electricity and gas, propane, whatever.
If that can happen.
I know it can happen, but it's one thing I've been wanting to do for a long time.
Are you saying that's still stopping you from doing wine tastings?
No, it's not stopping me from doing wine tastings, but it's stopping me from like looking at the way you looked at it. It's like you have $45,000 to spend on wine tasting.
But I don't look at it from that perspective. I don't look at it from a perspective where I'm like held back or choked by the way that we do the counting here.
Yeah.
I'm not. I know how much we made from Juan Cormets. I know how much profit we made because I did the math before anyone else knew it. I knew how much we spent on payroll. I knew, and I know how much profit it is. And if in your mind that your aggressive strategy is to spend 75% and save 25% for like a nest egg or whatever it is, that's fine. And have that strategy. And if you think that expenditures are going to be really high for the business and it's something that you need to discuss with everyone, go ahead and discuss it. But there's ways to do it. If you feel like, oh man, everybody else in the business is not going to let me to do it, that's something that you create in your brain. And maybe that's something that you need to change the mind shift on everyone else. Because you can say to yourself, okay, I'm going to spend 75% of all the profit that we made, but I know that everyone's going to have a reservation of doing that. So I'm going to show them first. After I show them, I know they're going to be okay with it. So my perspective on it is create your scenario of how you're going to spend this 45 or 66 or 77,000, whatever the number is. Create the scenario, show them the facts, show them the process, do it. But don't open your mouth until you're actually ready to have all your ducks in a row. Because once you open your mouth before that, you're going to start getting people saying, ho, 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 ha, 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 ho, 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 ha, ha, ha. It's the hot, putting your hand on a hot plate syndrome, you know? It's like, I can't go there.
Oh, I'm chopping that up too.
It's too much risk.
with your laugh.
It's legit. Yeah. It's legit. That's what happens is that people get in your way and they don't understand the whole context. They're not a part of this conversation right now. And where will you even get time to sit down and have this full conversation with someone else besides doing this right now?
That's fair. That's a great clip.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you
should. A lot of great clips.
It's like you should title that like Know Your Numbers. Know your numbers.
You should shut this podcast off and go do that right now. We're literally just taking 24,000 bottles sold to 48. Right there.
Let's go to step 8. Okay, step 7. It's like you got this, not replicate. So it's tastings, production. Like you need to hire people for that can do your job.
Yeah.
Even going out to get new liquor stores. I hired Dhruv. Now he's going out to different areas to get in those liquor stores by himself. Right? So that's sick. Like he can do that. Maybe he's not as good as I am, but he's still doing it.
Yeah.
Right? So step 8, stepping back to like 2017, 2018, few years ago, right? 2015, 2016, something crazy happened. So, taking risks and believing in your product, right? So, there's groups out there. Like one group is called Bears End. One group is called Springs Group. Another group is called Liquor Depot. Everything Wine. There's the ultimate groups, right? So like I just don't stop. So I kept contacting this Bears End group, right? I finally got in contact with the head buyer. Finally, right? And the head buyer's like, look, we're having this special meeting with all the managers. It's called our fall buy. This is your opportunity to come there and talk to all the managers in one conversation. And I did that, right? All freaking 10 stores ordered our wine. Every single store.
Unreal.
That was hype shit for me. I'm like, holy shit. 10 stores.
It's crazy.
In one go.
Yeah.
That's just like taking risk and like freaking doing it.
Yeah.
Like before that conversation, I was going woo woo hella, okay?
What do you mean you're doing woo woo hella?
You know, I'm just hyping myself out, you know? It's like, just doing it. You gotta do it.
You're looking at me and going woo woo.
Yeah, it's all good.
Then what?
So I got those freaking stores, right?
Yeah.
And then like Liquor Depot. Liquor Depot is 100 and something stores in BC.
Yeah.
Somehow I got the meeting with the head buyer because head buyer decides to get your freaking wine to the store. This guy's super awesome by his name's Larry Moscow. He's freaking amazing. This guy, okay, when I call him, he always picks up my freaking phone. He's a freaking head buyer of a freaking like multi-million-dollar business. Always freaking picks up my phone. That's sick. Anyways, shout out to
Who's
Larry.
this guy?
Larry. You're like, oh, we gotta send this guy's flowers and gifts and shit.
No shit, you started with mine.
It's not that easy, but you can try.
What the fuck? No, it's not that easy. Are you kidding me right now?
Never mind. So I had this meeting, right?
I'm flipping my table. Hey, you need to focus on the shit that matters, man. You're getting bogged down with the shit that doesn't.
Okay, step 8, take risks. So I got the meeting with the head buyer.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, all your products are going in the system. This is access to freaking every store. So that freaking meeting was lit. Liquor Depot, like they're owned by this company called Alcana. They're a freaking publicly traded company. They're publicly traded. So obviously the head buyer in Alberta is going to be different. But now I have the connection with the head buyer in BC. He'll just give me the contact with the head buyer in Alberta. Now I can freaking hustle in Alberta. Alberta, like the amount of liquor stores they have per capita is freaking insane. Like so many liquor stores.
It's crazy.
So going back to getting these big accounts, it's just taking risk and believing in yourself, right? So everything wine. So there's like 6 everything wines or 5 everything wines throughout BC. Everything Wine's massive. They're owned by Jim Pattison. I got the meeting with the head buyer, Everything Wine, right? And then freaking I got 5-6 stores. Right?
So cool.
I just went to the store in Abbotsford and I dropped off the wine personally.
Yeah.
Freaking one kid came with me. He's like, oh, I'll carry the box. I'm like, I want to carry the box because I want them to see like I put in the work.
Okay, yeah.
You know? Like things like that make a huge difference. Going back to taking risks, I freaking went to China. I went to China to try to freaking get our wine to China. It didn't work out. Like
Jason doesn't know this, right?
Yeah, you don't know this, right? I went to Shanghai.
When?
2019.
You went twice.
Yeah, I went twice. I went for 2 different festivals.
Dang.
2 different wine
Trade
things.
shows.
It's just trade shows. It didn't work out, but there's still like, you know, I'm meditating on it. It's going to happen. That's the way I look at it, you know?
What do you mean? You wouldn't have known it would have worked out or wouldn't have worked out. I think that you should look at the perspective that you tried it. And what if you didn't try it? You'd be sitting here with a freaking big ass regret on your face.
No, I know.
You wouldn't be able to tell the story. So it's really good. I know you know. It's really good.
Yeah, no, it's maybe I didn't go about it the right way, but I knew to take the risks. You know, I gotta figure that out.
You did it the right way. You did it the way that you needed to do it, and that's
I
the right way.
just did it. Okay. Another risk I took is like I went to different areas. Like I went to Nanaimo. I freaking took the minivan that I'm driving right now. I filled it with like 3,000 pounds of wine. Like 70, like 80 cases. Remember freaking loading that up, right?
80 cases.
And then I came back with like half. So like almost every liquor store that I had a meeting with.
Yeah.
Now because like some of those accounts, like I got like 9 out of 10 of those accounts, like 90% of those accounts, right? Even the accounts that said no, now our wine's in those accounts.
Yeah.
Because like they came and asked for our wine.
Why don't you take like? No, I'm not saying why don't you. But do you think that you could replicate that process of going to Alberta?
Yeah, 100%.
And you just haven't done that yet, right?
No, we just need to get into Alberta as a licensee.
Fuck Man, just take the wine there. It's already there.
No, you can't do it like that. You gotta go through Connect Logistics.
So if you do this Connect Logistics bullshit, right?
Yeah.
And then you load up your freaking van with wine.
Sure.
Can you just drive it down there?
It's not how it works. So basically, you go to Connect Logistics, right? They're like the main warehouse in Alberta. So all the wine that the liquor stores order come from Connect Logistics. So you have to send your wine to Connect Logistics. Then you go meet these managers, take your wine samples with you. Our wine's lit. You gotta order it.
And then it goes. Then they order through that.
Yeah, they order through that.
Then, so could you do that? The wine's already there.
Yeah.
Whatever. Screw it. Couldn't you just take the samples and go to each liquor store then?
Yeah, you can.
You should do that.
You can. I even when I was there for the wine show, I did that without the wine. I had a couple bottles with me because I bubble wrapped in my thing and took it on the flight. And one guy was he had 8 stores. He was ready to order them.
Do you understand this is B2B, right? So now that's your lead gen.
B2B.
That's your lead gen. So you need to put that on the wall.
What's lead gen? B2B?
No, like you are not maxed out, but you have a good chunk of liquor stores here. And the way that you figure that out is by you actually going to the stores and you talking to the liquor stores yourselves, right?
Yeah.
So that's the common pattern that you're saying here is that because you do it yourself and you show the passion and you get in front of the right people at the right time, that's like your strength, and that's what your role is to the winery.
Yeah.
Okay? I know what my role is, Jason knows what his role is. So that's what you need to know what your role is. You can't vary away from that role. So you need to continue to do that. But simultaneously, you need to do some strategizing and get the right people in the door to help you with making tastings as a large chunk of the time you dedicate to the winery. Okay?
Sure.
And simultaneously, you need to also be producing good wine. If you do those 3 things, then hire outside perspectives to do everything else.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, you're right.
HR, get someone in the door.
Yeah, no.
Right?
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. Well, there's some fears I have, but that's just letting go and trying to get.
No, there's 3 things that you need to do today. Gaurav, what are you doing today? It needs to be one of those 3 things.
What 3 things did you said wine tastings.
Wine tastings, getting new clients, and wine production. Wine production, wine tasting, getting new clients. There's nothing else that Gaurav needs to be doing on a day-to-day basis. Plus helping everyone else. Asshole. Guy does nothing else besides himself.
What the hell do you want me to do, man?
No, it's good shit.
You don't get to 150 liquor stores without that.
It's really good. You're focused on it.
So yeah, we're talking about take risks and believing. Next step 9 is ask how can you help, or ask how can I help. This goes with tastings, right? It goes with your employees. It goes with anybody in the business. So you're trying to bring your employees to your level. It's not about being a boss, it's about being a leader. So that's important not only in this industry, but in every industry. Would you agree?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so you ask the managers, how can I help? Then you go into do tastings. Ask your employees, how can I help? It's like, okay, let's sit down and talk. All right. Number 10 is replicate you. So I talked about this earlier with Dhruv, like how you can go to liquor stores and get new stores, tastings. I still remember the first person I did tastings. They didn't do a really good job. But then the second person kind of got my hopes up. It's like, wow, they actually did a good job. So then I was like, okay, we can get this going. I went to a tasting once in Vancouver. I sold 0 bottles in 4 hours.
Okay. It's part of it. It's part of it, buddy.
No one else has ever sold 0 bottles besides me.
Everyone sells like a bottle or 2?
At least.
That's fine. Everyone has their lows and highs.
That was a struggle.
It doesn't matter though. I don't agree with the point of you replicating everything. I think a lot of things that need to be replicated should be replicated, which are irrelevant and redundant, and they're just, it's something that you really need to do push quantity. The only point to replicate is to, of course, free up your own time or to do more of that same thing, whereas you can't be in 2 places at once or whatever it is. But some things which are just your strengths, I think you should focus on, and you shouldn't let anyone touch those. I don't believe, not especially in the phase that we currently are, and of course we are way more established than we are before, but we're not at that point where we can say, where we have an HR team, or we have accountability all set throughout the different hierarchies of everything that everyone does, or we have responsibility, or we have tracking mechanisms, right? There's a point to where those things are useful and to understand exactly what people are doing, what they did, and to have accountability laid throughout the hierarchy. say if an employee below you did something, you don't agree with what they did, but then they provide you different answers and it changes your perspective, it's going to create a lot of irrelevancies that you can get bogged down with. Whereas like you could just do them right now and get it done with because that's your strength. So what I'm saying is, of course, there's going to come a point where that's not enough and you do have to replicate your own strengths. But your strengths, you should just focus on them and you shouldn't let people touch those. You shouldn't. Like there's a point you should, but you definitely shouldn't. Most of the people on social online are saying, do it, let everybody do it, yada yada, but there's some stuff you just need to focus on.
No, I agree with you 100%. Right? It's just, like, with that step, it's just taking a step back and, like, seeing how somebody else can do it. You know, it's like, the hardest part about business sometimes, about being an entrepreneur, is trusting someone else to do your job. And like Gary Vee says, like, if they can do it 60%, 70%, there's no one ever that's going to do 100%. Because you're the business owner, right? No one else is going to have that passion unless the person becomes a business owner and the right person for the job.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with your point, right? Yeah. There's still things that I only do, right?
And those things, the 100% is needed.
Yeah, it's
needed. The 100, 110, 120, 130% is needed.
100%.
And that everything over 100% is the time and money that you've invested in your experience to know that how to pivot in those moments that no one else does. It's because you've already went through those. And that's a 20, 30, 40, 50% on top. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's where like you need to do those things. No one else can.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
No, the replicate yourself, like I just thought about this now, you're going from a business owner to being a mentor for your employees.
Yeah.
Like asking how they can
wherever you can. Wherever you can.
Wherever you can.
It needs to be used with a sharp knife. You have to draw a line, is what I'm saying.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
Last step. Okay? This is a step that's gonna make you go from 150 to, let's pick a number, like 20,000. Okay? It's about knowing your why. Okay? I'm reading this book. It's called Know Your Why, right? The why is really important. So the why, the how, and the what. A lot of companies know how they do things. A lot of companies know what they do, but a lot of companies don't know why they do them. So people in Vancouver, for some reason, through my experience and feedback, they're not the most fond towards fruit wines. So the further I get away from Vancouver, the more people like fruit wines for some reason, right? So like Chilliwack, Abbotsford, they love fruit wines. So for some reason, there's like a little pocket in Coquitlam, they love fruit wines. Like Nanaimo, Campbell River, Kamloops, Kelowna, Victoria, even like Prince George, Williams Lake, they like fruit wines more than Vancouver people, even though there's 1.2 million people in Vancouver. So opportunity is huge, but it's just been really, really hard to get into the market. And like, your why should inspire your employees and your customers and shareholders, stakeholders, everybody. So like saying that we're gonna change the industry, we're gonna shape lifestyles, like I can say that to my employees and they're like, they get hyped. Like this is real. And like when I bring like new employees on, like that's what I tell them, like we're not here to like mess around. We're here to like change the industry, build lifestyles. Even Laurent, he was like, wow, you're onto something amazing here. This is great.
When you said that?
Yeah. Like,
well, I think that you should look at the perspective of,
like, it's, you know how Nude came out? And people don't drink the nude category, they drink nudes. Like, even though they're drinking neutrals, they're still drinking nudes in their mind. You know, White Claw, they're coming to BC. They're not going to be drinking White Claw, they're going to be drinking nude. You know what I'm saying? It's just they created a category with their name. So it's something.
There's patterns there that you need to break and figure out, and then reduce, and then recreate based off of what you're trying to get across to the right consumer. Ciroc, Goose, Nude, Belvedere, Captain, they all have patterns. Okay, regardless of what they are, just like how you're saying it's a wine, but they're a brand.
100%.
And vodka I usually drink Ciroc because it's Ciroc. It's a brand.
Yeah, Ciroc, you know Ciroc's actually made from grapes? People don't know that, but it's actually made from grapes. You know that? So But people consider it a vodka. It's not really like a traditional vodka. People don't know that, but Ciroc is Ciroc. P. Diddy. You know P. Diddy. You know, like Goose is Goose because Goose is a really good vodka. It's not a vodka, it's a brand. You know?
So you need to recreate the wine and then put it in a rapper's hand.
It's just...
I ate too much.
Remember I told you, like, you need to, like, get, like, Drake to eat strawberries? Like, Maan Farms strawberries?
Yeah.
It's the same shit. But, like, you gotta get them to be like, this is, like, culture.
Hell yeah.
Because nude is culture, Ciroc is culture. Right? Certain people drink Ciroc. Everybody drinks nude right now. Right? I'm not sure if nude is gonna stick around, but, like, I saw it at like an Indian reception and they're serving nude. Every guy there is drinking nude. Like it's like hype. You know, it's like why is nude for some reason? It just hit that a lot.
Once you've recreated the wine, right? I'm not sure if you're gonna do this or not, but if you do recreate the wine, I guess you can do it now too. But you really need to have conviction towards the product itself. So until you believe in exactly what you're selling, because right now it looks like you're at 75% there in selling the product. I feel like you're missing the 25%. That's what you're talking about right now?
It's just not that I'm missing 25%.
Yeah.
I just know that, like, there's an opportunity and there is some sort of path. I gotta find that path and get there. Like, the opportunity is, like, fruit wine is such a small part of the segment, but you have this chance to, like, capture the whole segment. Because fruit wine is fruit wine. Or berry wine is berry wine. You know, people don't know about it in like the big markets, right? So you have the opportunity to train those consumers and to bring them into that culture and into that brand. You know, that opportunity is huge, right? So it's just you gotta find that gold mine. You gotta I don't know how to do it. You just gotta meditate on it. Getting back to meditating, you know. Just like freaking.
You should Google how they made Ciroc, the brand Ciroc.
It's just P. Diddy.
A lot. Maybe he thought of the name. However he thought of the name, he thought of like an ideology behind it. That's what you need. You need to figure out like the mission statement of what you're trying to create.
Yeah.
Once you create that, then, and it flows with the right clientele, then it all makes sense, and you'll be able to communicate it with the right people to help you do the job.
Yeah. No, we sat down with this marketing group. Remember the marketing group that came?
Yeah.
That they made the tongue thing?
Yeah.
This guy said, like, your biggest competitor, their biggest flaw is that you're considered a wine. That's the hardest thing, because fruit wine is considered a wine, and your biggest competition is all other wines. Your biggest competition is not the rest of the fruit wine industry, it's the rest of the wine industry. Because most of the time, like 90% of the time, consumer is not going from X fruit wine to your fruit wine. It's going from a regular wine drinker to your wine.
So maybe you need to put someone inside your room that can talk to you about packaging and branding. Have a conversation about that. Because, like, I'll give you another example. You know that supplement that came out a little while ago called Goli, Goli. It's an apple cider vinegar gummy bear.
Yeah.
And it's called Goli. I think it's made by Punjabi or in person from India.
Sure.
It's called Goli. You know Goli is the pill,
yeah.
right? It's called Goli. Like you know what I'm talking about, right?
I've seen it before, yeah.
Right.
I don't know what it consists of, but
Goli is not a pill. It means bullet. Goli means bullet in Punjabi.
I don't know if I'm getting the name right then, but I'm pretty sure it also means pill. Does it not?
Oh no, it's Goli is pill, but I feel like
Goli means bullet too.
I think it means bullet.
Bullet and pill. But anyways, all they did is take apple cider vinegar, make it into a pill, gummy bear, right? That's easy to eat, easy to consume, like on a daily basis. Recreated the branding, and then also created the entire packaging new and changed the segment. It's just a repackaging, rebranding.
Yeah.
Think about that. Think about maybe getting the right person to the door, and that's more of a you thing too, right?
So that's pretty much it. So this is episode 28. Winemaker Gaurav here. We talked about how to get into 150 liquor stores and beyond. And Amir, the farmer, was here to witness greatness.
I'm still here. We really discussed about how to take Gaurav's 24,000 bottles sold to 50,000 bottles sold for 2020, 2021, and a specific focus on where he should focus his time. And I think that was a real turning point in the podcast to really understand that. And he gave some really tactical advice of how to get and how he actually got to where he is from 2016 all the way to end of 2019 and beyond. But the main thing that I think that was like the shift in the mind shift or changes, like your brain kind of has a little torque moment, was understanding that the budget he spent on wine tasting needs to be quantified, number one, and then needs to be double, triple, quadrupled, or quadrupled. I don't know what 5 is. For 2020, 2021, 2022, and beyond.
Great.
Let's go.
Episode 29 coming up, guys. If you guys have any ideas for topics, please reach out. Cheers.